Aloha, welcome to Chappy's Tiki Bar. I'm Chappy and this is Mookie. This is part number 4 of my series where we apply Ingrid Fetell Lee's book Joyful to finding joy in tiki culture. This is the 4th aesthetic of joy, and it's harmony. So we're going to see where balance, symmetry, and flow applies to tiki culture and why we find joy in tiki culture. So check it out.
Harmony offers visible evidence that someone cares enough about a place to invest energy in it. Disorder has the opposite effect. Disorderly environments have been linked to feelings of powerlessness, fear, anxiety, and depression, and they exert subtle negative influences on people's behavior. We need some order for our minds. Harmony is created through balance, rhythm, and repetition. Putting objects with similar features together taps into the principle of the Gestalt psychology called similarity, which says that the brain tends to perceive similar objects as a group. The individual feathers or leaves or toys cease to be seen as independent objects. Instead, they become modules of a larger composition. According to Gestalt theorists, the brain does this to simplify and make sense of information coming in through the visual system. After all, objects often have a practical relationship to one another, not just a visual one. This can easily be applied to tiki culture. There are so many things you can collect, not just tiki mugs. There's the art, the decor, the music, the Hawaiian shirts, tons of retro trinkets. Basically anything kitschy and tropical would fit the decor of a tiki-themed home, restaurant, or bar. Most gift shops in tropical destinations would provide just the perfect item. But it all started with Vic Bergeron when he decided to switch his bar Hinky Dinks over to a Polynesian theme restaurant. Hinky Dinks was more of a lodge theme with deer head. He got rid of that stuff. So what Vic Bergeron did, and how he got his name Trader Vic, is he would trade food and drink for decor. He was basically looking for anything nautical themed, or especially from the South Pacific, tiki masks, tropical artwork, any kind of souvenir that somebody had brought back from a tropical vacation. You name it, he would trade food and drink to put it in his bar. One of the first tiki bar owners was one of the biggest collectors of them all, and that's how he got his name, Trader Vic. Nowadays, collecting tiki items or even items from the old tiki bars has a major nostalgic value to it. Almost like capturing the past of the tropical escapism of the 1950s and 60s. There's definitely a retro theme to these tropical items as well. According to neuroscientist V.S. Ramchandran, the pleasurable aha sensation we feel when we see related objects as a group suggests that the brain's processes for identifying objects may be intrinsically connected to the reward mechanism in the limbic system. In other words, joy is the brain's natural reward for staying alert to correlations and connections in our surroundings. The principle helps explain why collections feel so joyful, even if individual items don't have much value. Recently had an incident on Facebook. I'm in a Facebook group that is devoted to collecting tiki mugs. And I had some guy who seemed to be quite angry, almost irate. He pointed out that some of the mugs in my tiki collection, in his words, were horrible knockoffs. I wasn't trying to sell anything or pass anything off as a original piece of artwork. I was just displaying my proud collection of tiki mugs, and this guy seemed to be very upset. And then it occurred to me, isn't the entire tiki culture a knockoff? So basically, I paid $15 for some of these mugs. He obviously paid over $300 and up for his collection. He probably got them from well-known artists who copied the Polynesian culture, maybe some Hawaiian idols or Maori gods. So basically, in my words, he paid over $300 and up for tiki mugs that were genuine fakes, whereas mine were quite cheap, but I don't, most of them I don't even use to mix drinks in, they're just for display, and I pay around $15. And the reason I love my tiki mug collection, most of the ones that I really love are places that I've been, and they just bring back memories of my tropical vacations to Hawaii and the Caribbean and other wonderful places. And that's what I love about my collection. I'm not in it to make money or buy artwork that will increase in value. But I guess the real point I'm trying to make here is the entire tiki culture is a borrowed culture, but really isn't all artwork and all music borrowed from somewhere else. Tiki culture just makes it wonderfully obvious that this is a made-up culture that is a form of escapism, and nothing about it is authentic, not even these tiki mugs that this very angry gentleman paid a lot of money for. But that's what I love about tiki culture, is it borrows wonderful things from the Hawaiian culture, Polynesian culture, and even made up things that were perceived to be a tropical culture, but just in someone's imagination. And that's all tiki culture is, escapism and imagination. And that's why I love it. And that is what brings me joy, not just in my tiki mug collection, but the thought of transporting yourself to a tropical location, maybe even a tropical location in the past where things were simpler and the rum is flowing and the sands are white. Objects organized in color can be turned into a simple spectrum, like a rainbow. What is a rainbow, after all, but an organized set of colors? If I ask you to name a joyful shape, what's the first thing that comes to mind? For many people I've talked to over the years, the answer is the circle. Research suggests that people prefer sitting at a slight angle to one another rather than side by side, and that they will drag chairs into a loose circle whenever possible. The circle's unbroken perimeter and even rate of curvature make it the most stable, complete, and inclusive shape. But the circle is joyful for another reason. It's infinitely symmetrical. In 1871, Charles Darwin observed the eye prefers symmetry or figures with some regular reoccurrence. Scientific consensus agrees with Darwin. The human eye is exquisitely sensitive to symmetry. Our brain can recognize symmetrical forms extremely quickly at less than 100 milliseconds, much faster than aesthetic forms. If architecture in your space doesn't give you symmetry, you can create your own by placing pairs of similar objects, such as chairs or potted plants, on either side of the line that you define. You can make an axis of symmetry where none exists. Best loved public squares and courtyards all have a focal point, a fountain or an object of interest in the middle. An object in the center of a space tends to change the space around it, anchoring a blank expanse. It may be that defining a center heightens the sense of symmetry that helps us get our bearings. By underlining the pleasure of music are layers of order. The repetition of sounds, the sequence of beat and rhythm, and the deepest level, the quivering oscillations of the sound waves themselves. The first experience with a beat is in utero, and even outside the womb, babies are comforted by the sound of their mother's heartbeat, repetitive sounds, and rhythmic rocking movements. Certain ratios known as the perfect fifth and perfect fourth are considered universally pleasurable and appear in the music of most cultures. Musicologists say that these intervals sound pleasant to us because the ratios at which the notes vibrate, 4/3 for a perfect fourth and 3/2 for a perfect fifth, create regular intersections between their different wavelengths. One of the reasons we love patterns and rhythms is that their structured repetition of elements quickly establishes a baseline level of harmony. Patterns enable us to experience an abundance of sensation without it feeling overwhelming, and they create an orderly background against which we can detect when something is out of place or awry. This lets our brain relax rather than having it to remain on high alert. To this point, research has shown that regular beat and melody of music reduces stress better than unstructured sounds like rippling water, can significantly reduce anxiety. Feng Shui, for example, has been practiced continuously for more than 5,000 years. Feng Shui takes its name from the two most powerful forces in landscape, Fen meaning wind, and Shui meaning water. When wind and water flow too fast, the result is destruction, hurricanes, floods, and tsunamis. If they flow too slowly, the result is heavy air, murky water, and stagnation. In their profound wisdom, the Chinese decided to create a system that would ensure safety and an optimal environment for their people. Because the location of homes and fields could influence people's health, crop yields, and even their survival, Feng Shui naturally came to be seen as a way to increase one's luck and prosperity. Its power comes from the way it reframes our relationship to our surroundings rather than from any mystical properties. It's not magic, it's just about bringing your attention to the area of your space. It is animated by an invisible energy called Qi. Acupuncture and Feng Shui both center around Qi. The first seeks to rebalance its movement through our bodies, the second through our surroundings. I picture a Chihuahua let loose in the apartment. Imagine its tiny legs whirling and scampering into every corner. Like the namesake, wind and water of Feng Shui, good Qi flows through space in a way that's brisk yet gentle, like seaside breeze. A long empty hallway creates a fast rush of Qi that might be right for an airport concourse but uncomfortable in a home. A cluttered room causes Qi to swirl around and get stuck. The movement of a gaze around a room, the daily orbits of a home's inhabitants. Qi is flow. The joy isn't about structure or organization per se, it's about the smooth flow of energy that such order enables. Flow is also a term psychologists use for being completely, joyously absorbed in an activity, whether at work or play. But the byproduct of arranging things for a good workflow is that they have a good visual flow too, with no awkward angles and plenty of negative space that lets the eye move around easily. By removing obstacles in surroundings, we open up channels for the smooth flow of energy through our lives. Feng Shui places special emphasis on the entryways, because it's the gateway to your home or office. You have to pass through it every time you enter or exit, and it's where you greet guests. If your door sticks or you're always tripping over shoes, then you're going to find friction at the movement when you really want momentum. Entering your home through a path of chaos creates a movement of irritation that affects you for the rest of the evening. If your environment makes you feel stable, balanced, and grounded, you're more likely to feel confident taking measured risks and exploring new opportunities. Other people may notice your calm, unhurried demeanor and be drawn to you. And we've seen orderly surroundings also make you less likely to engage in behaviors that can undermine others' trust in you, such as lying and cheating. Harmony is unique in that it's one of the few aesthetics of joy that has truly measurable elements. Energy and abundance are tricky to quantify. With freedom, it's hard to know where you'd even start. But in creating harmony, the ruler, the compass, and the level all find application. Yet this quantitative aspect also carries risk. If we're not careful, the angles and ratios can cause us to fixate on an ideal perfection rather than the experience of harmony. The Feng Shui notion of qi or flow is so important. Flow puts us back into our bodies. It reminds us that the most important tools for assessing harmony are the ones we're born with, our senses, our emotions. The harmony lies just not in the perfect, but also the perfectly imperfect. Keeping its own rhythm, finding its own flow. Thanks for watching another episode of Chappy's Tiki Bar. I'm Chappy and this is Mookie. What's up, Mookie? Mookie says life is hard. That's just the way it goes, but sometimes it goes the other way. See you next time on Chappy's Tiki Bar.